in the Garden. There's a lot of madness outside the Garden, but let's start right inside the Garden. In Game 3, San Antonio needed a victory here. They were down 2-0 after losing both the first two games at home against the New York Knicks. No team has ever lost the first two games at home and come back to win the series. The Spurs fighting for a chance to do just that. Pre-game, you could just feel this buzz, this energy. The entire city of New York, the entire state of New York was riveting. It was unbelievable seeing some of the crowds in the streets, what it was like inside the arena. I got chills listening to the national anthem, listening to them announce the players as they walked onto the floor for the first time. It was spectacular. There's nothing that beats playoff basketball energy. There's nothing that beats playoff energy in general. It was unbelievable. There was so much tension in the pregame. And in the first quarter, it started off feeling that same way. The Knicks struggled a little bit in the first quarter. The Spurs came in and they looked like they needed this victory badly because they did. And they walked in. Wemby started hot in the first quarter. I've said all series long that what the Spurs need in order to win is Victor Wembanyama to be on his A game. In game 1, he looked fatigued. In game 2, he kind of held himself back in the first half until in the second half, he allowed himself to get into the game, and that's really when the Spurs started taking over. Yes, he made a crucial turnover and missed a shot at the end of the game that could have potentially won game 2 for the Spurs, making the series 1-1. However, what Victor Wembanyama did, he stepped up big time. He made the most of the moment in the second half of game 2. And he did so in game 3, but especially in that first quarter. He came out showing why he's considered one of the best players in the world. He wasn't the only Spur who was hot. Stephon Castle had some big moments in the first. Harper threw down a monster slam, and the Spurs got out to a large lead. But, of course, as we've seen in this series, when the Spurs get a lead, it doesn't seem so safe. The Knicks were able to fight and claw their way back into this game, and after the first, it looked like it could be a runaway victory from San Antonio. That was not the case. Going into halftime, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, and Karl-Anthony Towns combined to outscore the entire Spurs team in the second quarter. They would go into halftime with a lead over the San Antonio Spurs, despite being down by double digits at one point in that first half. The ball movement in this series has been unbelievable. If you know Lee Ellis and you watch the starters, you would know that this right here is what we call a very solid play. Shout out to Lee Ellis and shout out to the very solid play from the New York Knicks. It's not the first time they've had one this series, but I'm showing it to you now. Not only is there ball movement, is there tension, is there desire in this series, there's a lot of physicality, there's a lot of tenacity, and that's exactly what you want in a finals matchup. You want to see these guys lay it all out on the line. You want to see them fighting for each possession, for each point, for each bucket that they could possibly get or stop. That's the only thing that you want to see when it comes to watching these basketball games. And that's exactly what's been going on. We're just now getting into the second half where Wemby would continue that domination that I talked about, which he was on in the first half. San Antonio would take the lead back from New York. This was a tight game, and it looked like the Spurs would head into the final quarter with the lead, but Jordan Clarkson pulled out some prime Steph Curry moves, and my goodness, he knocks down the three, ties it up. This game going into the fourth quarter was neck and neck. The fourth quarter was time for the Stars to take over. Wemby gets it going with the alley-oop. Brunson hits it with the and one, making it a 4-point game. These two went back and forth, hitting buckets when it was needed most. And with under 20 seconds left, it wasn't Wemby, it wasn't Brunson. The Spurs had the ball, and it was De'Aaron Fox, under 20 seconds left, drives over to the top of the key, takes a jumper, and nails the dagger. It was a 3-point game, under 20 seconds left. De'Aaron Fox, who has struggled in these playoffs outside of Game 2 in the finals for the most part, hits a pretty daggering shot against the New York Knicks. Spurs would go on to win this game, and they spoil the party in the Big Apple. The Knicks would have a chance to score. They wouldn't be able to do just that. Spurs even the series. An unbelievable matchup. Each game has been spectacular. The series, great teams, phenomenal effort. Again, the energy, the tenacity. It's been physical. The ball movement is exquisite. Everything that you want in this series, you've got it. Mike Brown, at the end of the game, he was complaining about the officiating. Here's what he had to say.
I never thought I'd be in the NBA Finals and see a team get 24 free throw attempts in the second half to another team's 8. And I don't think I complain much about officials or the fairness when it comes to the free throw attempts. San Antonio is a great team. They're a great team. Okay? It's going to lower our odds big time if we play game 4 and in the second half they get 24 free throw attempts to our 8. And maybe we were fouling. But they fouled too.
On the one hand, he has a point. I mean, a team shooting 24 free throws versus a team shooting 8. That's a big difference. And when this game is as physical as it is, there probably should be a little bit more somewhere in the middle between 24 and 8 free throws shot by each team respectively in the second half alone. But at the same time, this is a series of physicality. If New York is going to play physical ball, the Spurs are going to go up with it and they're going to get to the free throw line. Yeah, I guess you could say that the Spurs are playing the same way on the defensive side as well, and that they probably should have also had, more fouls called on them. There was one right here, which I will say, Wembanyama should have been called for a flagrant foul on this. I don't know how the refs missed it. This one's going viral all over social media. This was a bad miss by the refs. This was early on in the game. He just throws Jalen Brunson down to the ground. I really don't know how that's not called, but the refs were not the reason that the Spurs won this game. In fact, Mike Brown even said that himself. So moving on, the Spurs came into MSG needing to win. They had just lost a crucial game 2 that they very much could have won, and they played their game. They walked out into that arena with confidence, and they knew exactly what they were going to get themselves into. They ran their game plan in that first quarter, and after that, they were able to keep up with New York. New York was able to get the lead. They were able to take it back from San Antonio. But what San Antonio is able to do is they're able to claw their way back, and then when Wemby's out on the floor, it is really challenging to stop them. You have Castle and Harper making all these plays. Fox at times has struggled, but also Fox has looked great. Then you have Devin Vassell, you have Julian Champagnie who are able to knock down threes. This team is incredible. I mean, they're in the finals. Who am I kidding? But what they did in game 3 was spectacular. They got a whole bunch of that lost momentum back. And now they can kind of sit back, say, okay, we're down 2-1. We can do this. We just beat them on their home floor. We are hungry. We can win this series. This is not over just yet, which I'll get to in a second. But San Antonio has a problem. They have held a 10-plus point lead in every single game of this series so far. Yet they lost 2 of those. They've lost the lead in all 3 of those. This is not what you want if you're San Antonio. They're playing confident and with a lot of heart. But if the Knicks keep getting off to these slow starts and able to claw back, imagine what happens when the Knicks don't get off to a slow start. Jalen Brunson is a beast once the fourth quarter comes on. He didn't do too much in the first 3 yesterday. But what he is able to do is turn it on when he needs to. And so can the rest of the team. We saw what OG Anunoby did. Shout out my Indiana Hoosiers. Hoosier alum OG Anunoby, he's been killing it in this series, and he killed it last night for the New York Knicks. What he did was unbelievable. New York kept fighting their way back thanks to OG, thanks to Brunson late in the game. Cat has been great at times in the series, but I just found out Karl-Anthony Towns has not scored a single point in the fourth quarter during the NBA Finals. Are you kidding me? Karl-Anthony Towns, one of the best bigs in the NBA right now. He's physical. He's great. He can shoot. hasn't scored. He was in foul trouble in the fourth quarter of this past game, but you're telling me in the first 3 games of the NBA Finals, you're the second favorite to win the Finals MVP on your team, and you haven't scored a fourth quarter point. Unbelievable and unacceptable. Karl-Anthony Towns will get some time in the fourth quarter to show that he can bring it when he needs to. There's no doubt about that. That might even happen in game 4. But now, moving on to the series outlook. Is this series still up for grabs? After the first 2 games in San Antonio, everybody had thought that the Knicks basically had won the championship. The Spurs were done. They had no chance of coming back. But after game 3, after what we just saw last night, are you telling me that it's out of the realm of possibility that the San Antonio Spurs win 3 of the next 4 games? I'm not going to say that. I was one of those people who really thought that San Antonio was desperate for a game 3 victory, or else that series was over. And I still believe had they lost, it would have been. I don't think a lot of people predicted that they would have felt the way they do about San Antonio now after watching game 3. Because in my opinion, the San Antonio Spurs are very much alive and in this series. They have a life. Victor Wembanyama got them the victory. He had a 30-plus point performance in the NBA Finals Game 3. First one in Madison Square Garden of this millennium, and he got it done. He walked in and won in the Big Apple. A monstrous victory. And that's exactly what they needed. Now they have momentum. I think this series is wide open. I know New York won those first 2, but if you're looking objectively, you take a step back. You look at the Spurs, who are emotional players, but they're not an emotional team. They're able to step away and do things that an emotional team would not be able to do. They don't get in their own heads. The Knicks are not in their heads. They control themselves very well on an emotional level. I love what Wembanyama said in his interview with Malika Andrews before the series started. He said, "We can do impossible things because we don't know that they're impossible." That gave me chills. Wembanyama, that's a bar. Oh my God. But he's right. No team has ever lost the first 2 games at home in the NBA Finals, come back and won the series. Spurs can absolutely do that. Game 4 tomorrow night, back in the Garden. Can San Antonio tie this series up heading back home? Or will the Knicks take a 3-1 lead in this series? We'll find out soon enough.